I believe in therapy. I believe in therapy is all of us, right? It is a movement. It is no longer just a campaign. And it is so near and dear to our hearts, to Clayton and Elle, Carly, as we all know her and love her. So I welcome you all today. I know that you guys have been deep diving in mental health and wellness and sickle cell and all things amazing sickle cell since very early in the morning. So I hope that you all are holding on to your seats because we have an amazing session coming up for you today. Some of our goals today, outside of my amazing colleagues, Clayton, who is a mental health professional, as well as my dear friend Carly L. Cole Cavens, and she is a caregiver to a warrior with sickle cell, and then myself. Hi, my name is Heather Avant, and I am a sickle cell warrior myself. And mental health is one of my biggest loves, and making sure that we as warriors are doing the things that we need to do, as well as our caregivers, right? And sending love out to the world. So today we're going to discuss a little bit about destigmatizing therapy. We're going to talk a little bit about centering mental wellness in sickle cell spaces, because for so long we've talked about our bodies and how our bodies function, but we have really left a really wide open space for really working on the mind. And then also shared and lived experiences. You're going to hear from all three of us today a little bit about our stories and why mental health is so important to all of us. So today is this afternoon we're asking for you to join us, and we want to see you come up in the chat. We want to see you respond. We're going to have prompts for you. We're going to have questions. We want to make sure that you are joining in because this is an open discussion. This is not one-sided. We don't want to talk at you. We want to talk with you. So, and we want to hear from you, right? How we can continue to improve, continue to take all accommodations and sides in regards to mental health, because it is such a broad expanse. So I want to tell you a little bit about me, but I'm going to tell you first, I am from Dallas, Texas, right? Yay, for all my Texans in the room, or for all the people who live in Dallas. There's a lot of us here. So I really want to hear about where you're from. So in the chat box, please list where you're from. Let's see. Let's hear it. Let's feel it. I want to see where you're joining us from. And while we see those responses come in, I want to talk to you a little bit about what is the campaign? What is I Believe in Therapy? And what were our goals with this campaign? As we know, this is no longer a campaign, but this has become a full-on movement. We see life, and we are breathing life into this. Hey, I see Chicago in the room. Welcome. California, Philly, Canada, Ghana. Oh my goodness. You guys, this is amazing, right? We have people from all over the world, and it just shows the reach that we have. So I want to talk a little bit about what I believe in therapy is, right? We'll go back to that. Is we want to focus on sickle cell. Therapy has never really been a focus in the sickle cell community. This is brand new to all of us, y'all. Within the last probably 3 to 4 years, we're really doing a deep dive into the fact that we have missed some levels with our own healthcare in sickle cell as regards to our mental health. And that was our year one, kind of like sticking it out. Like, what do we got to do? What's missing? What are our goals? And how do we need to look forward? And our second year goals were to really focus on education. We created a book for you. You'll find the book in the chat. I'm sure Elle will put it up in the chat for us. But we created a book because we wanted you guys to go on this mental health journey with us. We truly wanted you to join us in our mental health journey. We wanted to see you doing the work, because the thing is mental health is about doing the work. It's about feeling those deep feelings that we sometimes don't always want to feel. And this year, we're growing, right? We want to grow into our caregivers and focus in on people who are taking care of us, because I have learned over the last couple of years that being a caregiver for a sick person is taxing and challenging. And I am so thankful to all of our lovely caregivers who are joining us all over this world, because let me tell you, being a caregiver to a warrior is tough work. But we also want to focus on our clinicians, right? Our doctors, our healthcare professionals. They are going through it too. They're in the thick of the storm, sometimes right alongside us, and we don't even know. Our goal is to have a broader impact on the world with I Believe in Therapy. Clayton is going to talk about a little bit about what we believe.
When
So
it
that's
comes to therapy, oh, I'm sorry.
sorry. I'm gonna ask Tech if you can share the slides for me. I don't know when I'm sharing them, the images aren't coming up. So if you could help me, I think I've been on here so long that I need to reboot my computer. So it's not showing any images. So if you could assist us, that would be great. And while they're bringing it up, Clayton, you can begin.
Absolutely. Thanks, Elle. When it comes to what we believe about therapy, I think the biggest thing and the biggest assumption when it comes to therapy is that it means there's something quote unquote wrong with you. And I think the biggest thing to talk about what we believe in therapy is that it is not a setback. Therapy does not represent a dysfunction. Therapy does not represent a brokenness. It is, on the contrary, seeking help, being able to get up and say, this is what I need. It illustrates a strength. It illustrates that someone has that knowledge and they have the insight and they're able to say, this is where I'm coming up short and this is where I need help. And that takes strength to do that. Therapy is not a weakness. Being able to seek help, that is the strength. And then the other thing that we believe is that when it comes to the care that we get, I always tell my clients, if I'm not working for you, fire me, find someone that works, right? We want to find people that are competent in our fields, in our needs, culturally competent for us, that in accordance to our needs. Those are the things we believe in therapy. Those are the things we believe are important regarding to therapy. And I think Elle had a video, but I know she's trying to connect.
We're having some technical difficulties. It's bound to happen.
So our tech team is going to share for me. I have put the link for you all to reshare. It is in the chat.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Can
I
you send
think
it
while
to
we
the
wait,
other way, Carly? Can
Yes.
you, yeah.
and I think while we wait, what we can talk about what therapy is. Therapy is healing. Therapy is growth. Therapy is being able to build on those areas where, like I said, where we fall short at, where we're able to identify those areas of need. Therapy is what helps us to become not a different person, not a better person, even, but a more healed version of the selves that we were before we started. And those are huge key components to what therapy represents and what therapy is and what we believe when it comes to therapy. Is it ready yet?
Well, and I think while we're waiting, we can also talk about like our poll question, right? Our first poll question. We can kind of go into have you ever tried therapy? Who in here has actually gone to therapy and talked to someone about all the things, or just not it? I mean, and that's okay too, right? Sometimes it's not for everyone. I have personally tried group therapy and one-on-one therapy and family therapy and marriage. I love therapy. I love going and talking about my problems because when I walk out, I feel lighter. So that's just me. When we have a comment, therapy has been amazing for me for a year and some time now. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm happy to hear. It looks like our deck is coming up, so let's see if we can get our video playing. Okay, we got video, we got sound.
Okay, hold on. Let me optimize it for saying I didn't get that. Hold on 1 second. And now I should be ready. Hold please. Let me go back. Here we go.
I believe in therapy.
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 I am in therapy, and therapy has really helped me with being a mom to a 7-year-old warrior.
I'm in therapy, and therapy has helped me cope with my challenges as a patient and a physician.
I'm in therapy. Therapy has helped me with advocating for sickle cell as a sickle cell warrior.
I am in therapy. Therapy helps me with my mental health with sickle cell disease.
I'm in therapy. Therapy has helped me heal past traumas as a sickle cell warrior.
Therapy has helped me power through survivor's guilt and adjust to my new identity as a stem cell transplant survivor.
Therapy makes a difference.
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 Mental health is critical to overall well-being, and it's no different for individuals living with sickle cell disease. In the United States alone, over 100,000 people live with sickle cell disease. Remember, mental wellness is just as important as physical wellness. The Sickle Cell Disease Association of America is here to support you every step of the way. Visit sicklecelldisease.org to learn more about how therapy can make a difference in your life. Together, let's prioritize mental health and thrive on our journey with sickle cell disease.
What we're trying to do with that campaign is to make sure that we're reframing what sickle cell is in our community and how we talk about it and how we process our emotions. And we know just from the last session how important that is. And so, with the I Believe in Therapy campaign, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a movement where we can really talk honestly and truthfully about what this journey is about and provide a holistic care plan to help us navigate as we're dealing with different things from different perspectives. So, we have warriors and caregivers and healthcare professionals. All of us are impacted by this. Next slide. So Heather has already asked this question, and you all were so honest in the chat. I think, this is something that we're opening ourselves up to, and we're agreeing that therapy is a good thing, is something that we can look into no matter where we are in the world. It may be challenging, but it's something that we all can consider. Next slide, please.
So we're talking about mental health and how it intersects with chronic illness, specifically sickle cell, living with sickle cell. Before I say anything, I want to ask everyone kind of what's one word that you associate with when it comes to thinking about mental health? What's a word that you associate with that?
So I'm going to put my word in the chat, and my word is help and listening. It's great to have somebody to listen to what's happening. So listening and help are my words. You can add your words to the chat while Clayton continues.
While you're adding your words and what you're thinking about when it comes to mental health and your thoughts, let's talk about kind of that, like we said, that intersection where mental health and stress and anxiety and all those different feelings meet with living with sickle cell. Oftentimes it involves, we know the chronic pain, the hospitalizations, those fear of the complications that we might encounter, and just that general disruption to everyday life. But what about the emotional tolls? What about the anxiety we might get because maybe we're that college student preparing for an exam. This exam is worth 2/3 of our grade, and oh, wait, here comes the pain. Now I'm getting a little anxious because if I miss out on this test, it's going to cause this whole snowball of effects. Or maybe I'm worried about going into the ER. I'm in pain, is painful. I'm going to the ER, but I don't want to be discriminated against. I don't want to be seen as a seeker. I don't want to, and I'm already amping myself up and preparing for the experience, that almost that expectation. Those are examples of post-traumatic stress. I'm amping myself up. I'm re-exposing myself before I'm even there. Depression, burnout, those emotional consequences that we are involved in living with sickle cell and dealing with those different areas of our mental health. Therapy is what helps. When I meet with my clients living with sickle cell, we identify the coping tools that best help support, that help to recognize those symptoms, those experiences, being able to create spaces for our clientele to process their emotions, to process their experiences, to process just that vulnerability, and building resilience. And I know this is a word that we're probably going to use a lot today and that you probably already heard, but resilience, resilience, resilience. It is such an important word because those are the things that we do this in spite of, despite those things that can help hold us back, being able to be resilient and to be able to prosper. And that's what therapy does, not just for our sickle cell community, but for anybody in need of it. It helps that person to be resilient and to push through those different and difficult moments in their lives. I know that there were a lot of chats going on when I was speaking. I want to read a couple of them. So someone said, unstressed. Therapy helps us feeling unstressed. Support, recognizing the importance of emotional and psychosocial care. That is very important. Burnout and overwhelm, that's it's a common experience, and we have to find those ways to cope and deal with those experiences. I think we are ready for the next slide.
So I want to tell you a little bit about my story and how I've navigated mental health from a child to an adult. Um, because navigating illness has never been easy, and it's not easy on any warrior. I don't think it's any easy on anyone living with a chronic medical condition. But you know what? I was lucky enough to have a really strong foundation behind me to help push me forward and to help me grow. Mental health impacted every single one of those burdens. Every time I was in the hospital, missing school, not being good enough with my grades, or not having the best grades because I was out of school for so much and so long. I had at times just thought of myself as like, this poor little kid. I was like, I was like, why God me? I'm struggling. I am struggling in school. I'm struggling at home. I'm in pain, and then also feeling like a burden. Not just an emotional burden at times, but a physical burden. We feel like an emotional burden to our family members. They're taking time off work to caregive for us, or they're unable to work because we're in the hospital so much. And the isolation. For me, I had a brother living with sickle cell, but his sickle cell was so different than mine. He was never in the hospital, so he at times was jealous of me because I got more attention, and I was jealous of him because he wasn't in the hospital. So at times it felt very isolating to be alone in those spaces. I felt like, well, no one understands me. I mean, I can't tell you how many birthdays and Christmases and holidays I've spent in the hospital, sometimes days by myself when family had other obligations and just couldn't be there. So discovering therapy for me was something that happened when I was in my 20s, and it was probably one of the best things I've ever done for myself. It helped me realize that I actually carried a lot of baggage from other people. it gave me language. It gave me language to talk about my pain, talk through my pain, but also help me find a certain amount of peace with people around me in dealing with my pain and coping with my pain. Now, I can't sit here today and tell you that I'm perfect by any means. I still lash out and I still have bad days and bad moods. And my poor little son, I mean, my son, I'm thinking of myself. My poor son struggles with, with mommy's grumpy moods sometimes, and or mommy's in bed and doesn't feel well. And he's such a sensitive soul that, when I'm not feeling well, his poor little tears just flow. But it's a way for me to actually have language to talk to him about what's going on with me. How do I express to an 8-year-old or a 5 or a 6-year-old how I'm feeling when I am going through such pain? So I want you to list in the prompt, and I'll put it in the prompt, what part of my story can resonate with you, or have you heard, or what thoughts and ideas have you heard come up in your own mind and throughout your own story that are similar or that are different?
Next slide, please. You know, Heather's story really resonated with me because even though I'm a caregiver, there is a sense of worry that kind of lives in the back of our mind as a caregiver. You never know what day is going to be that challenging day that you can't control. And it can be difficult to live in that space where you don't know what the end of the day is going to be like. And it's important to be able to find a community and find people that will be able to listen. And so I am very grateful for the opportunities that I had as a caregiver to show my daughter how much I love her by being there for her. But at the same time, I recognize that I can't give all of myself without checking in on me. That, there was a period of time where I didn't go to my own doctor's appointments. I was so focused on her appointments and focused on what I'm doing for my kids that I had forgotten about myself. And so, just like we've always heard, you have to put your own mask on first. So as caregivers who are listening, we have to take care of ourselves on this journey as we love on our warriors. We have to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to so that we can be there to continue to advocate for them. And so as a caregiver, some of the challenges that we face are hypervigilance, guilt. Those are real emotions, feelings of invisibleness. And, this panel comes right after a panel where we heard talk about these same concepts and characteristics. It can be hard juggling medical, emotional, and financial responsibilities. It can feel like you're always on. And I know that's something that I really struggle with, because one thing that we don't always talk about in this community is that while sickle cell is one of those really large, challenging illnesses in our community that connects us, is also not the only one. So sickle cell causes many different complications that can bring up other illnesses that you have to look after as well. And so it seems like the responsibility just gets greater and greater. And so it is important to recognize that there are professionals like counselors who can help us navigate and cope better with those experiences. So therapy has personally helped me by creating a space for self-reflection. I'm able to own my emotions and own my feelings and say when things are hard, when they're difficult, and be able to ask for help. Because there are times when I, as a caregiver, and we as a community can't do it all. We need our allies, we need our friends, we need extended family, we need coworkers. So we have to open up and let others in. So a part of talking about this in the lens of I believe in therapy is to be able to collectively reclaim our joy and our identity as individuals. That is important for all of us. Next slide. So if you are a caregiver, put in the chat if you have ever considered therapy for yourself. If you don't feel comfortable putting it in the chat, you don't have to. But you know, if you want to, it's something that I realized that the whole entire family needed therapy, not just one person. It's all of us, because it's important to talk about the things that come up and the challenges that we face. And I see there's a yes in the chat. So next slide, please.
And so reflecting and connecting and like just thinking about what do we want people to understand about mental health and chronic illnesses. Um, Elle, forgive me, is this video have sound? I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't have sound.
Okay, okay. I wanted to make sure I wasn't talking over anything. I want to ask, I want to ask the group, you know, what do you wish more people understood when it came to living with sickle cell, living with the chronic illness and mental health? I think I'll start it by saying, you know, one thing I wish folks would understand more is that it's all connected. If you're not feeling good, you're not going to feel good. You know, if you're in a bad space physically, we're going to be in a bad place mentally. If we're in a bad place mentally, it leads us to not take care of ourselves and we wind up in that bad place physically. It's a connected thing, and it's something that I think we tend to neglect sometimes or forget, that we have to take care of our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. And it's very important to understand that cyclical connection. Next slide, I believe. So what we've learned, we know that as we discussed, mental health, it deserves as much attention as our physical health. We've spoken on that. We've stated the importance of how it's connected. We've talked about identifying seeking therapy as more of a strength than a weakness. It's okay to say, I'm not okay. We're not lazy. Being in a constant fight, you know, I tell my clients sometimes, sickle cell crisis, especially that chronic pain, your body is in a constant, it's like you're getting jumped while you're sitting still.
Absolutely.
You're getting jumped and you're just sitting there, and that body is going through all of that. And your body is going through all of that, which means it's going to affect our energy. It's going to affect our responses. It's going to it's going to have repercussions on that mental.
And therapy looks different for everyone, right? We're going to really drive that home. Therapy isn't the same for everyone. Some people, my child does play therapy. And it's the coolest thing. I've watched a couple of sessions and it's just so cool. Like he's playing, but he's like, you know, asking questions about how he's doing and how he's feeling and what's going on and how do we manage those big emotions, because my son is a super feeler, which I think is just as sweet as can be. But it's about, you know, it doesn't have to look the same. For me, sometimes therapy is going to a pottery shop and painting pottery for an hour or two. It doesn't have to be, it's not always just going and talking to someone. Sometimes therapy is going fishing and sitting on a dock and quiet around yourself and God, or yourself and listening to nothing but the crickets chirp and the frogs chirp. I think that we get so caught up in therapy being one way and a one-way street, but therapy should be different.
Cultural safety matters. And that's really to say that we as a community, we have to make sure that we're finding a therapist that we can connect with, whatever that means. So that may not mean you want a therapist that looks like you, that may have had a similar background, but you deserve the right to find someone that you want to talk to and that's willing to talk to you. And so, and that where you can be fully free and honest. And, it is very important to talk to somebody who understands what a chronic illness is and what sickle cell is, because for me, like, I don't want to have to keep explaining it. It is a source of freedom when I can just go and speak about these things without having to over explain. And so we're definitely looking for ways where we can be honest with our therapist, but honest with ourselves first and foremost. Next slide. So what you see on the screen right now is a QR code and a link, and it says bit.ly/SDAA mental health. And basically, there's a toolkit. You see it scrolling through the screen. This toolkit lives on the sickle cell disease website. It provides information. So a lot of the information is centered for the US, but we know that outside of the US, you also have needs, but it gives a lot of like self-care suggestions, different tools, and the different organizations that are providing care. There are different stories and, there's a directory of help. So Clayton, can you kind of explain how to access, other tools like support groups, maybe just other things for people who don't necessarily have access to the resources that we share in this toolkit?
Absolutely. If you don't have the toolkit, if you don't have access to the toolkit, you always have access to different other resources, such as speaking to our family members and making sure, we know how family can get, making sure you're picking the right family members sometimes, but finding, resorting to our families, support groups, find the support groups in your communities, in your area, churches, um, finding the organization, the sickle cell organizations that are in your community, and building relationships and building connections with those people in those environments. That helps to build that support, that helps to build that camaraderie. When we have more like minds, we're able to accomplish a lot more. We're able to set healthy boundaries with each other, with ourselves, for ourselves. Thank you, Christina. But finding those support groups, our local churches or spiritual bodies or community groups, whatever it takes to find those connections and places where you can feel support, where you don't have to feel like you're by yourself, where you can feel like you are understood and heard. Those are the important things. Next slide. So then when we talk about kind of just piggybacking off of what I was saying about finding those sources and finding those resources, the therapy that helps, we're not just talking talk therapy, which is great, which is phenomenal. I engage in talk therapy with my clients. Those approaches include, individual, that one-on-one, one-to-one therapy, those group settings. We feel we can accomplish a lot more when we have a sense of shared experience with others. Family systems therapy. I met so many people living with sickle cell, and there are so many different things that are going on, not just with their health, but with the family dynamics. We've had opportunities to sit down and talk about the different things going on with the family and being able to identify more boundaries, being able to identify these areas of trauma and being able to build on that family system. Cognitive and dialectical behavioral therapy, changing the way we're acting, changing the way we're thinking, and more unconventional art, music therapy, all these different things, trauma-informed therapy, community resiliency. Those are the areas that help to build on therapy, help to build that growth. How to find a culturally competent therapist. It's almost like dating. I always tell my clients, if I'm not working out for you, fire me. Find who works. You have to find the connection that works for you when seeking therapy, a therapist, when seeking that process. It's okay to say, hey, I don't think this particular connection is helping. A potentially culturally competent therapist will say, hey, that's fine. Let me help you find this connection, and it's okay to build and communicate that. Next slide. Next slide. I'm sorry. So when we talk about the theme of therapy, and I definitely have a view on this when it comes to what is the theme of therapy when thinking about the clients that I work with, when thinking about the people that I've worked with, or friends that I've worked with, or people living with sickle cell that I know, the common theme is relief. There's already that need for relief from the physical pain, from the physical distress. But then we think about that emotional toll that comes with it, the mental toll that comes with it. And the basic theme is relief. How do we find that relief? How do we develop those functional outcomes? Movement, mood management, being able to communicate, that talk therapy, finding our hobbies, finding those things that help us relax. I know for me, when I'm in pain and I'm hurting and I need that relief or distraction, I'm a gamer. So I'm going to get on my game. I'm playing my game for hours or watching a good comedy series. Communication, our behaviors, an effective means for helping those living with chronic illnesses and building a community really comes from finding that means of helping that person find some form of relief. Pat says mental health is real. It's about doing the work that helps you find your very own individual balance. So true. You have to find what balance is for you. Just like we talk about, no two sickle cell experiences are alike, no two mental health experiences are alike. And you have to find your own personal individual balance. Thank you, Pat. Next slide. So how do you find the right therapist? You have to know what questions to ask your therapist. What are your needs? Knowing what you need helps. Knowing what to ask, that helps. If you're seeking someone specifically for a specific need, if it's for coping, for grief, for relationships, you want to ask those questions of your therapist too. Hey, are you specialized, or are you good in this area? Are you versed in this area? How many clients have you worked with that live with sickle cell? I always like that question when I'm asked by my sickle cell clients, because then I can say, oh man, you don't have to worry about that. I live with it myself. So we've got that commonality. We're already going to start strong. But you want to ask the key questions that matter, especially for you. If I'm seeking a marital therapist, it might be important for me to know, hey, how many marriages have you had or been in? I've been asked that question. I never mind. I tell them, hey, this is what's going on. This is where I'm coming from. This is why I may or may not have the experience that you're looking for. Evaluating therapist qualifications and experience. Hey, again, what are your backgrounds? Where do you specialize? I always tell people my baby is forensic mental health. My passion is sickle cell mental health. And that helps my clients figure out, okay, well, where do I want to go? And just, looking for those practical steps in setting up your initial consultations, i.e., just taking the first steps. Google therapists in my area, Google sickle cell therapists in my area, Google grief therapists, Google trauma therapists, Google trauma groups, but just setting up that initial step to take that step into finding the group or family or personal care. And those are the means of finding the right therapist that works for you. Next slide.
What are some of your coping strategies? How do you get through day to day with sickle cell? I think that we oftentimes are expected to just know how to cope, right? Most of us cope from a young age, but then there are others who have their first crisis when they're in their 20s or in their 30s and they don't know how to cope. So, what are some effective coping strategies to deal with how sickle cell impacts your mind? Because we have to understand that emergency visits, chronic pain, each of those, they offer an institution of trauma, right? When you're in chronic pain and you can barely feed yourself because your arms hurt, or you can't walk to the restroom and need help because your legs hurt, it can be very isolating. And that can be very trauma inducing, right? I had to have someone help me sit on the toilet. And I know many of the warriors in the room have experienced that at some point in time. And it's like, I have to have someone who I don't know do things for me that I would take care of myself. So, how do we work towards not increasing that isolation? And how do we manage our coping skills with those? Building up your mental acuity as far as your mental health and your emotional health will help build a resilience. It's a great tool for when you understand what's going on in your body and how it correlates to what's going on in your mind, and vice versa. It will help build resilience, and it'll also help you, teaches you to help with pain. I know, one of my biggest things is, and I've said it so many times, is we all live with pain, right? A lot of us live in pain every day. Some of us experience pain very infrequently, and some of us don't know how it feels to be without pain. But we have to learn to live with it, right? And it can be prayer. By it can be by talking to God. It can be by writing it down, how you're feeling. If you're angry, or if you're, sometimes I'm frustrated. Sometimes I'm angry with my body. I'm like, listen, today was a great day. We are going to finish strong. How can I finish strong? And a lot of it's the way I talk to myself. I'm having a rough go at it right now, and I'm going to finish strong. Journaling, absolutely. But then how do we make sure that we're not isolating ourselves from our loved ones? I know that a lot of us don't want to be around anyone when we don't feel good. It's like, I want to be alone. But is that helpful to them? Because they're watching us go through this. And we want to make sure that we're allowing them space to understand, because realistically, unless you've lived with sickle cell, you'll never understand the pain that we go through, as far as the pain in the body and the pain in the mind and how daunting it is on our spirit. But are we letting our loved ones really truly see us for the warriors that we are? Next slide, please. Clayton.
Sorry, I was looking for my unmute button. So what do we do if therapy isn't accessible? I think it kind of goes back also to what we were saying earlier about just seeking those resources, those outside resources that help family, community groups. You have Cayenne, the Sickle Cell Foundations. You have SC3. Find the organizations in your community. If they're not in your community, find the one in the community next to you. Make those phone calls, reach out, identify your self-care strategies, journaling, deep breathing, finding your faith-based support. I thought I saw Cynthia log in earlier sometime today. More, discovering more to life. There are different community-based, spiritual-based, not just sickle cell, that focus on that wellness and building on that. Movement, exercise, creating those outlets. Looking for our sickle cell support groups. Back in 2020, there were so many virtual support groups. We have our in-person support groups now, that mix, that hybrid, peer counseling, identifying your CHWs, family-centered, and also communicating with your crisis lines. If you're in crisis, Identify those crisis lines, contact your mental health text lines. Those are things that you can do when therapy isn't directly accessible. Next slide.
So we put while the next slide is coming up, we put a prompt in the chat. Which self-care strategy do you already use? And Lakita said, I do a lot of meditating. I use an app, Insight Timer. I love that you shared an app because that's something that many of us will have access to.
And Dana said prayer, journaling.
Has anyone ever done axe throwing? It can be completely and utterly amazing and meditative.
I have actually done axe throwing. I'm not very good at it, so it was a little scary at first, but it's a release. Like as you throw that axe, it's definitely a release where you're like getting rid of things, you're shedding weight. So that's really important. Clayton, can you kind of lead this grounding practice for us?
So, yes. So, what I want us to do is let's take a minute to just kind of ground ourselves, get ourselves in a comfortable position. Mental health can sometimes be it can sometimes be deep, it can sometimes be heavy. What I want us to do is let's take a moment to inhale deeply. Inhale on the count of 4. We're going to hold on the count of 4, and we'll exhale. This says on the count of 4. Let's try to exhale on the count of 8, and let's see how we feel. So I want us to do it together. So we'll inhale. Hold. And exhale. And we'll do it again. We'll inhale through our nose. Hold. And exhale through our mouths. We'll do it one more time. How are we feeling?
Feeling pretty good.
Do we feel a little more at ease?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. I think that this is something that we think we can all do. And I know that I have taken it on. It's something that has helped me in my own day to day when I'm stressed out or feel that anxiety bubbling up, especially spending time like, oh, those pre-thoughts of, am I going to have to go to the ED or not? That feeling that creeps up in the back of your head and around your neck and up your shoulders. And you're like, am I going to have to go in? I'm like, let me breathe this away. So yeah, it's a great thing to kind of stop and take some breaths and to, figure out, where we're at and setting space for that.
So I didn't do the hand on the heart part, but I do want to close out by saying you are worthy. You are worthy of rest. You are worthy of healing. You are worthy of recovery. And just you are worthy.
Absolutely. Next slide.
As we close out, I just wanted to take a moment to say, I am so glad to have Heather and Clayton share this campaign with me today, because I believe in therapy is a movement that we all can be a part of. So you can take action by scanning the QR code and going to the toolkit. But remember that there are organizations like Cayenne Wellness Center who offers therapy to people in this community, in the sickle cell disease community, and they pay for it. That is amazing. We would love to see that all across the US, all across the world, globally, where organizations are raising money so that they can help us with this journey, with this opportunity to get therapy if we need it. And just like we heard in the last session, sometimes insurance can be a barrier, but we don't want there to be a barrier because all of us are worthy of healing. We're worthy of being able to have the tools to deal with this. And so we appreciate your time. Heather and Clayton, if you can put in the chat how people can find you, especially for those of you who listened to this and it resonated with you, follow us, connect with us, and we appreciate your time.
Yeah, I hope that you all reach out and I hope that we hear from you. This has been amazing. Thank you, Dr. Rowley and for Viva for inviting us in to speak about our movement. You know, we're so pleased with this and we're so thankful that there is space and that we're allowed to address mental health and healing and mental health and healing in today's day and age because, you know, we oftentimes we push that aside and we're like warriors deal with the body, you know, and one of my biggest advocates and my friend has told me on more than one occasion, it's easier to heal your body than it is to heal your mind, girlfriend. So let's get your mind working. So just thank you for allowing us to come in and join you today on this very, very interesting, informative, full of heart and hard work day. Goodness gracious, y'all have been working hard.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was a great session. It's very important, as I think Elle mentioned it at the beginning, that the session we had before was very, I would say, emotional, you know. It brought a lot of emotion out. So I hope they stayed around just to listen to this. I can see Daniela is still here. So that's good. You know, mental health is health.
Yes.
Mental health is health. That's what we have to recognize. And once you know that, then you know that you have to take care of your physical health, but also your emotional and psychological health is as important. You fix the body, the physical body, but if you don't fix the emotions, sometimes, you know, it drains you as much as the fatigue of, you know, sickle cell does. So thank you so much for bringing this very important topic. And we also have to continue to talk so that we can break the stigma in the community around mental health. I was born and raised in sub-Saharan Africa where we don't talk about our emotion. We don't share our, you know, any type of negative emotion. Even if something happens to you, they just say, well, you leave it to God. Or maybe even they question your faith. Don't you pray? Don't you believe in God? I know, how can you feel sad? So it's just important that we break all these type of, you know, beliefs, and then we take care of our physical, mental, and emotional body. So thank you so very much.